Hi, welcome to Sin City After Dark. My name is Katerina. I'm your host. And before we start, I do want to say thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our music family here in Las Vegas. Today, I have with me a very special guest. Her name is Mecca Madison, and she's one of the nominees for the Maxan Jazz Awards show, which will be on June 1st, so please be on the lookout for that, and more information to come on that. So I want to start the podcast with letting you introduce yourself and who you are and, who is Mecca Madison?
My name is Mecca Madison, and I am a singer, performer, a creative soul, a free spirit. All of that.
That's a beautiful answer. That's very true to who you are.
Yes.
Based off what I've known about you and what I've met. I mean, what I've learned about you since we've just met.
Yes, yeah. It was it's been quite the journey, connecting with other creatives like yourself, and I'm always open and love meeting new creative people and just expanding that network of people, because we are a tribe and
Absolutely.
we understand what the journey is. We understand each other quite a bit,
Absolutely. And you had mentioned something earlier, which I would love for you to touch upon about that journey.
So what we were talking about before, I mentioned that as creatives, like, we are constantly putting ourselves in vulnerable situations where, we're facing rejection. We're constantly pouring into our craft, and there's no guarantee of success at the end of that. So we continue the journey, and we kind of put ourselves through this, but we love it, and we wouldn't have it any other way. I think that's part of the test of life, that, God tests us to persevere and to keep going, and, and have faith, that self-belief in yourself,
Yeah, what would you say is your way of continuing to have that faith, to continue no matter what is happening, How do you continue to say, no, this is who I am, and I'm going to continue on this journey?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think personally for me, it's something that I can't turn off. It's something that I don't try to pursue or to be. I'm kind of at this stage in my life of surrender, and I'm just called to do it. I'm called to pursue music. I don't know what the end result will be. I just have to trust it, but I know that God's put something in me to keep pursuing it, and to, to understand that this is part of my purpose. Like, I was chosen for this. It's something that didn't just happened to me. It's something that was written for me. And it's kind of like destiny in a way, where you're constantly in this, you're going down different avenues, and you're trying to figure it out, and you don't have all of the answers or the puzzle put together. But you just trust that everything's going to work out, and you're going to end up exactly where you're supposed to be. And it's really hard dealing with that as an artist, because of so much unknown in this industry. But I think it's just being certain in yourself to find that path and to make your mark in a way. So we're all making our mark. We all have this creative gift, and we know internally, deep down inside, we're meant to share it. And I think that is the most important thing, just knowing that you're meant to share it. Even if you're not playing to, millions of people, that doesn't matter. It's being called to share what you have.
I think that's a brilliant way of thinking about life, whereas you may not know what your end goal is, but you know that it's already written, and you just have to be, and you just have to go and just stay calm, because it's already written, and you're going to end up where you're supposed to be.
100%. 100%. And I think that there's there's destiny, and then I feel like we are co-creators of a higher power, God. I believe in God, but I think that we co-create with God. Like, he gives us free will, but at the same time, we also have to do the work, and we have to do the work on ourselves, and we have to show up, and we have to keep going, and we have to listen to the messages, and see the signs and pay attention to those, because messages and signs are always being sent out to us. Sometimes we don't always, sometimes we miss them, and we don't always pay attention to them because we're so distracted by the outside world, and we're so distracted with outside voices that it kind of weakens our intuition at times, and we're unable to hear that, and we miss the signs and the messages.
It's so funny. Like, so I was actually going to ask you that is like, how do you, stay clear to the vision when you have so much going on, and in your case, you were on American Idol, you were on, I Can Hear You Sing.
I can see your
and
voice.
See your voice. That's
yes,
what it was.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so you have all this extra noise, and me, for someone, I have my noise, but not to your level of noise. So how do you, stay focused and stay continuing to hear those messages, to hear that person talking to you?
I think that, well, first let me say, leading up to the filming of I Can See Your Voice, which looks amazing, but I literally had a meltdown right before getting up there and doing it. So I think me personally learned to compartmentalize a lot of things. My personal life stays separate than my stage life, which is not easy to do. But the love of it, my love for performing does not, I kind of just utilize whatever is going on in my life, take that energy and use it on stage.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to do shows like American Idol or I Can See Your Voice or The Voice, that you have to be prepared to receive good attention and bad attention, because there's always somebody that's going to pick you apart, that doesn't like what you're wearing, that doesn't like how you're singing a song, that doesn't, there's always those people. And then there's people who want to grow with you, who is curious about you, who is drawn to you, who, you, regardless of where you're put in that situation, you're always going to attract those people. And I think that's the most important thing to focus on is the people that are there to connect with you, and to, that is drawn to you because it's a reason all of that is happening. And I have to be honest that it's not easy when you do have negative attention, because you already have a self-dialogue sometimes where you have to catch yourself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I also feel like I feel like it definitely always starts with self. If you catch yourself and you correct it, you will start to shift. And we constantly are having this inner dialogue, and sometimes it's hard to catch because you may be in the habit of talking negative talk, and you're like, oh wow, I've been doing this so long, I don't even realize how often and natural this is to me, until you have to catch yourself and kind of be kind to yourself and find self-compassion of, okay, I'm not perfect, I'm going to make mistakes, I am who I am, and accepting that and surrendering to that. That way you can kind of detach from other people's opinion when you are really grounded and self-centered. Not self-centered, but
no, I know what you mean. You're grounded. You're centered.
Grounded. You're centered. Yeah. But yeah, you know what? No. Yeah, self-centered when you are a people pleaser, or you fall into the habit of taking care of everyone other than yourself, and you self-neglect. I think that being self-centered, you have to kind of create that balance.
Right.
I'm not saying be cruel to people, but you have to kind of have that boundary within yourself and kind of realize, what is it that I need and how am I going to show up for myself? That way I'm able to show up for other people when I am taken care of, when I am grounded, when I am centered. How can I show up for other people? By showing up for myself. That's how I can show up for other people.
Absolutely. Do you think that there's an age where you should avoid being on their shows until you're able to say, you know what, this is who I am and this is what you get?
Right. That is a very hard part because I got into this industry at a very young age, and I come from a musical family, so I was exposed to a lot very early, even before I was ready. And that was tough because you're developing a young mind, and this message, this industry is hard. It's tough. But I don't think it's any place for children, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. And it's because I think coming into this industry, you have to know who you are. You have to stand for something. You can't go for anything. But it's easy to manipulate a young mind. So I've experienced ups and downs of the industry, taken advantage of. I was signed at 14. I was shelved. I was taken advantage of financially, bad management contracts. And I didn't understand it because I was just so young.
Right.
And I didn't understand why so many people around me are being greedy and fighting over business when all I want to do is sing.
Right.
You know, all I want to do is sing. And I was being told what to wear. I was being told what to sing. I was being told what to do. I was being so controlled that I got to a point where I walked away from it. And I didn't want to pursue it anymore. And it wasn't fun for me. And it put me in a dark place emotionally because I was so young. So I think that you have to be very careful coming in at a very young, tender age. You have to be, I think you have to have a really supportive team around you. So it's unfortunate, but I'm glad I went through that because it definitely sparked a spiritual awakening within myself. It allowed me to fall in love with music again, my way, doing things my own way, you know, not for other people. I wasn't doing it for other people. I had to learn how to fall in love with music again. And also kind of take back control of my life because it was pretty out of control and unstable.
That makes absolute sense. I mean, you had people telling you who you are and what you can do and what you can't do. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a very good point, you know, that it's important to know who you are before you get into this, and that takes time to build.
It takes time.
It takes time.
It takes time, and again, those outside voices, because when you're coming in, you're kind of green, and when I say that, you're bushy-eyed and you're you know, innocent. You want
to make it happen. You're excited. You love music. You want to sing.
You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I get to do all these amazing things. And, you know, the learning of everything, the learning of a recording studio, the learning of a stage and how to use a microphone and how to do your makeup and how to dress like a performer, dressing the part and looking the part. And you learn that. But then you realize, too, when you're being told and controlled so much, you realize that you feel like you're putting a mask and you're not truly being seen for who you are because you're kind of being, you know, treated
Toggled
like a doll.
Yeah. Mecca, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I would love to have you again. You're amazing.
Yes.
And you have so much great insight. And I would
you.
love to pick your brain about your experience and your life, really.
Thank you so
You're
much.
Such a cool person.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. We're going to be friends. I hope so.
But thank you so much for watching, and I want to tell everybody good night. This is Mecca Madison. She's the nominee at the Maxan Jazz Awards show, and we're, very happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and more to come on the show, so you can come watch her sing on June 1st. Thank you.